Om Shanti. Welcome back. Let us take the next 5 minutes. Okay, so let's just take the next few minutes just to do our mindful moment of silence to experience our inner sanctuary of silence. So I invite you just to turn the attention inwards and experience that there is a part of you that is perfect and pure, that is untouched by the less than perfect characteristics that you've acquired in a less than perfect world. It is filled with divine qualities and therefore in a constant state of resourcefulness and well-being. Its total absence of conflict and negativity of any sort that makes this point other than perfect is a part of you that is called a still point. It's a deep, enriching experience of silence. Make time to practice reaching this inner place of silence. It brings untold benefit. First, it allows you to manage your thoughts better. Second, the experience of silence releases you from the grip of your negative programming and conditioning. You will more easily experience the truth of your inner peace and dignity. Third, the power of silence can be shared. As you increase your experience of silence, your power can help those without power to continue in their efforts of self-development and the experience of peace. Your stock of silence, plus an additional stock of true, powerful thoughts, will help others go beyond the limited into the unlimited and the divine. So now, just take a moment to turn your attention away from the world around you. Turn your attention away from the old stories, from the memories, from all the forms and sounds and turn your mind inwards to that still point, that world of absolute silence, of perfection, and feel and sense the beauty of that point. Feel the lightness, the authenticity, the peace, the joy, the love. It's all that resides within that point. That is who you are. That's who I am at the deepest core of my being. It feels so good to go beyond in this way and to leave behind thoughts and speech and become quiet for a little while. It's so refreshing, it's nurturing, and it's habit forming. Love for spiritual introversion, solitude and silence complement our life in such a beautiful way. It refreshes, it restores, it renews. Om Shanti. Thank you. Okay, so before we go into our next session, I just have the privilege of introducing to you the Point of Life Foundation. And some of you probably already know about the Point of Life Foundation. We should have done this yesterday, but we just didn't. And so we'll do it now. In your package is a little brochure like this. You may have noticed it. Okay? So the Point of Life Foundation is the co-sponsoring entity for the retreat that we do here. The Point of Life and the Brahma Kumaris together always co-sponsors these healthcare initiatives. And the Point of Life is, I'm just going to read a little bit. It's a US-based non-profit entity that was established back in around 2001, or maybe even a little earlier than that, to inform healthcare providers and recipients of care, not just healthcare providers, but also patients, although we've been focusing mostly on healthcare providers. We've been doing that to inform them of the relevance of holistic, with the emphasis on the spiritual approach to healthcare, to care, to healing, to self-care, and healthcare education. And so the POL was founded with the vision of a spiritual model of healthcare with emphasis on the well-being of the whole person. And it aims to integrate the people-centered approach with the existing approaches in healthcare and in health and care. So the foundation is nonprofit, and we've been doing, through the healthcare, we've been doing a series of educational initiatives, which include retreats such as these, and we've been doing these retreats since 2001, and we do workshops and all kinds of other things, particularly or specifically with the intention to really support healthcare professionals. And through that, we created this initiative called the Hope in Healthcare. And again, there's a little sheet of paper in your package which describes what the Hope in Healthcare does. All right, aimed specifically to do what we're doing here today, which is to support us as care providers towards create a more holistic approach to the way we approach care. right? So you can read this and you can read the pamphlet. And if there is anything you want to ask us about it, you can. Contributions, all our programs are offered like the Brahma Kumaris does. All our programs are offered as free contributions to our healthcare community. And if you do contribute anything to it, of course, it is tax deductible because it is a non-taxable. So one of the things we do is what we do here, but we also contribute to outreaches, and we also support the Global Hospital, which is a holistic hospital in India, the headquarters of the Brahma Kumaris in Madhuban, in Rajasthan, Mount Abu. Okay, so we support the work they do because this initiative was created through the inspiration from the model of the Global Hospital, which is a holistic hospital, offers care in all areas holistically. Anything else you want me to say about the point of life? No? Get the idea? So browse through your brochure, and you want to ask us any questions about it, you can check with us. Okay? Thank you. And I'm going to turn this over to Marilyn.
Om Shanti. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a nice afternoon. Yeah, spent some time outside. Took a little rest, a little walk, a little fresh air, a little seva, right? A little service. Beautiful. So this afternoon we have a beautiful program. As you can see, the title, Healing the Self, the Science of Interconnectedness. And we'll be with Shwetank for that. Dr. Shwetank is a cardiac anesthesiologist, as he mentioned, but he has also been involved with Brahma Kumaris and Raja Yoga meditation for 25 years, almost. Very soon the anniversary is coming, he told me. So he coordinates the National Healthcare Network for Brahma Kumaris, and he's quite involved with Point of Life. So he has a few roles to play, and he's also really great at linking science and spirituality and understanding how meditation works. So we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Marilyn. You're such a sweet soul. Thank you. So, welcome back, dear brothers and sisters. I've been tasked to talk about the science of interconnectedness. And like Marilyn was sharing, that the hope is that I can link it to spirituality and the meditation that we practice. I would be remiss if I do not acknowledge all the retreat facilitators who worked tirelessly to build this up till this moment. I wouldn't be standing here if they hadn't put in all the effort that they put in. And I would also be remiss if I do not mention that this session was actually supposed to be done as in partnership, if you will, with two other souls. They have been part of these retreats for many years. Their name are Carol Davis and Susan. They were going to do this with me. They couldn't come today because they were not well. But when we were discussing how to make this session more beautiful, interactive, and so on and so forth, they were sharing something which really touched my heart. And just to honor their subtle presence or absence, or how you want to take it, I thought that it would be nice if I share the story that they shared with me. So they have actually done a lot of research and work on interconnectedness. They were sharing that they both, by the way, are twins. And so they were sharing that, and if anything happens to one of them, the other one experiences the same pain or joy or whatever emotion one is feeling, the other feels it, even though the other person is thousands of miles away and there has been no communication. And I asked them, why do you think that happens? And she said, Carol was the one who responded, she said, it's because we are twins. And we have shared the same womb for 9 months. So then a thought came in my mind. We are all living on this planet, in a way, in the womb of Mother Nature. So in a way, we are all twins. So I was hoping that before I even start this session on the science, that we could all take a moment together. First, to hold the thought that at least everyone in this room is my twin. Just for a moment. I invite you to entertain this thought that at least each retreat participant today here is my twin. And I wouldn't mind some gentle music, dear brother, if you could play. And then take this further, that every human being on this planet is my twin. That everyone's pain is mine. And not just pain, everyone's joy is mine too. If anyone on this planet, whether that person lives in Siberia, Japan, Taiwan, North Pole as an Eskimo, in the Amazon forest, wherever, each one's pain is my own, and each one's joy is my own as well. If they are not happy, if even one person on this planet is not happy, how can I really be happy? I remember 25 years back when I entered into the Brahma Kumari Center back in India. I had just finished my medical school, the last professional year, the last semester, and I was going into internship. I was happy. I had no problems. I had a wonderful doting family. I did exceptionally well in medical school. I had lots of friends. Yet there was a deep sense of disconnection, a deep sense of loneliness. And the moment I entered into the center, I felt a sense of belonging, a deep sense of connection, more than ever before. Unimaginable, undescribable experience. And at that moment, I felt, these people have nailed it. This is amazing. What the ancient mystics talk about. If you think about it, if you go back into time, those sages and saints of antiquity, how they were able to live so happily, how they were able to live so long. The lifespans were 100, 150 years, no diseases, no surgeries, no problems that we have today. Why were they able to do it? It's because they were connected. They really knew what interconnectedness is and was. So I was thinking that if I too can truly learn, and I can truly practice, and I can truly become a connected human being, then I too can enjoy all those amazing things that our forefathers, those ancient mystics, were able to do. think of it, there were some of these sages who wrote the entire Ayurveda, the Vedas, the Upanishads, and whatnot. There were some of these saints, if you will, were able to know the diameter, the circumference of Jupiter without a telescope, which now people, the NASA people with the most modern telescopes are able to gather this information now. So how were they able to do all this? And so my hope is that with this presentation, I can take you into some of the deeper understanding of how science is able to understand interconnectedness. And I promise I won't make it very complicated. You won't have to look at all these or memorize all these equations. But this thing doesn't want to work. No, but I was hoping that this would work. Yes. So somewhere in the beginning of the 20th century, science was evolving in a new way. Before that, science was dominated by Newtonian physics. But probably 100 years back, a new kind of science was developed that was the quantum physics. And so we had the big giants like Einstein himself and Niels Bohr and Max Planck and Schrödinger and whatnot. And then somewhere along the line, there was this desire, which probably was proposed by none other than Einstein himself, that there needs to be a theory of everything, TOE. That is one theory that could explain all the phenomena that happens in the universe. And so then, so Stephen Hawking, has anyone read this book, A Brief History of Time? You have, a little bit? Yeah, my dad gave this as a gift to me when I was in my 8th grade. It's the most boring book, if you can imagine. It talks a lot about supernovas and black holes and whatnot. But in any case, he is considered one of the geniuses of modern times. So what did he say about the theory of everything? If we can discover a complete theory, it would be in time, it should in time be understandable in broad principle by everyone, not just a few scientists, that even philosophers and even ordinary people would be able to understand why we and the universe exists. If we find the answer to that, it would be the ultimate triumph of human reason, for then we would know the mind of God. So it is interesting that we probably don't have a totally perfect theory of everything, but through quantum physics, we at least have a theory of almost everything. And that's how they call it now, TOAE. And that's the quantum physics. So what is at the core of everything around us? This is an important question that quantum physics forces us, compels us to think about. I think it's best if I stand here. So I love to take this analogy of the wheel. If you see at the rim of the wheel, there are everything that we see, the material world, the bodies, the objects, the material world. But if you go deeper into what all of matter is made up of, we can say that matter is made up of molecules. Now, when the scientists were trying to look at how these molecules organize themselves, as we know, they are bound together with electrostatic and covalent bonds and so on and so forth, they tried to measure the space that these molecules occupy. and the space the molecules don't occupy, that is between the molecules. And they found that the space between the molecules was profoundly large as compared to the space that the molecules occupy. Now, what are molecules made up of? Atoms. Yes. So again, they measured the distance between the atoms, or the space between atoms, and the space that the atoms occupy. Again, the same answer. What are atoms made up of? Electrons, protons, neutrons. What are electrons, protons, neutrons made up of? What they say is quarks and leptons. So even then, what they found that at the subatomic level, again, the space that the particles occupy is minuscule as compared to the space that is not occupied by anything. 99.99999, and you can go on, is just space. And 0.0000000, you can go on for quite a while, 1% is just matter. So what does this tell us? That at the core of everything, including this chair, there's just space. 99.9999999% space. I have a funny story to tell you. When I just came to US, it was year 2006. I was at Mayo Clinic and doing research. So I just arrived there. Back in India, you see, we don't get too bogged down by my chair or anything like that. So I was talking to my lab manager, trying to understand how to order reagents and all that. So I saw a chair and I sat on that. The person whose chair it was walked in and she got berserk. She said, "You're sitting on my chair." And I got totally shocked for a moment. I got shooken up by that. And what's the big deal? In a way, back in India, we would say it is just a chair. But actually, from quantum physics point of view, it's not even a chair. So what are we so worried about? So we fret about so many small things. My this, my that. My desk, my computer, my job, my name. All of this at the core of everything that we know. There is nothing but space. But in fact, what they saw that when they tried to look at these tiny particles, as they were trying to examine them, they found that even these particles don't exist. Actually, they exist as energy, just pure energy. What they call as a wave of probability. And when they would examine, when they would try to do experiments on those waves would collapse into particles, which they call as collapse of wave function. So what does that mean? That even that 0.000000001% matter is not matter, it's just energy. We know from Einstein's famous equation, E is equal to mc squared, that matter and energy are interchangeable. So truly speaking, even quantum physics is understanding that at the core of all matter, there is no matter. And if there is no matter, why does it matter? Right? So do you remember there was probably a time for each one of you when you did get bothered by someone else taking away something that belongs to you? Did that cause distress to you? But if it doesn't exist, it's just energy, then should we fret about it? All right. So what is this quantum field? At the core of all matter, there is just pure energy that permeates all of the universe. At that level, all of matter is interconnected. All of the universe is interconnected. So let's look at this picture closely. These are all of us. We all come in different shapes, sizes, colors. Right? At the surface, we all look different, speak differently, have different beliefs, different ways of living life. But I invite you for a moment to change your perspective. How about seeing ourselves as just a bag of flesh and bones? Because that's what we are. At the bone level, usually we can't really differentiate whether the person is black or white, or a Japanese or American or Indian, or a Muslim or Christian or Hindu, or tall or short. A little bit, yes, maybe we can determine by the length of the bones. But just for a moment, think about it. We are all just a bag of flesh and bones. Or maybe just a bunch of molecules. How does that sound? Carbon dioxide, H2O, O2, just molecules. And molecules that are spaced so far from each other that if you group all the molecules together, we are just this much, and the rest of us is just space. Or we are just a bunch of atoms. Or we're just a bunch of electrons, protons, and neutrons. You see, the interesting thing is, anything below the level of molecules, there is no way to differentiate between you and me. We're all same. We're all similar. And at the core, we're all pure energy. And let this sink in to your psyche, into your mind, into your hearts. We are all just pure energy. So if you go back to that picture, if you can visualize for yourself the wheel. So further down we go from what we see at the superficial level, the external level, there is no difference between each one of us. And if you look at the wheel, there are spokes in the wheel, right? And these spokes, as they come together at the center, as you go from the rim towards the center, the spokes come closer to each other. So as you go to deeper levels of who you are, you actually come closer to each other. The difference is only at the surface. At the core, there is no difference. We are all just pure energy. Now, the interesting thing is, at the center of the wheel, if some of you probably know a little bit of physics, the center of the wheel never moves. The true center. However fast the wheel may be revolving, rotating, the center doesn't move. So Sister Annie was talking about time, right? If you can go from that top superficial level to deeper levels of who you are, and if you can reach the center, that's where everything stops. And the interesting thing is that the center of one wheel is connected to the center of every other wheel in the vehicle. And it is also connected to the engine, the motor. So when we reach the quantum level, if we can stay in that quantum level, by the way, this is the same field that Rumi has talked about. Beyond all right doing and wrong doing, there's a field, and I'll meet you there. Which is that field? It is this quantum field of infinite possibilities where we are just pure energy. And that's what Raj Yoga talks about. That's what the ancient mystics knew all about. That at the core of our existence, we are just pure consciousness. And there's no difference between us and anyone else. And through that understanding, we are totally connected to everything and everyone. And we are also connected then to God. This is the wheel, connected with everything and everyone. So, in the quantum field, each one of us is nobody, right? No one. If there's no body, then there's no name. And then there's no position. I'm a director, I'm the manager, I'm the boss, the big boss. None of those things. So I'm no one. I'm nowhere. Because at that level, there is no distance. Distance collapses. And no when. There's no time. Time ceases to exist. The interesting thing is that when you are nothing, then you can be everything and anything. Thank you. So you can be everybody, anybody. You can mingle in any group. Sometimes we say that I feel disconnected from this group at work. Why? Because we are here at this level. If we go to the quantum level, there is no difference. We can be anything, anyone. We can be anybody, anyone. We can be anywhere. And we can be anywhen. We can go into past, we can go into future. That's how the ancient mystics were able to achieve so much. Time dilatation, that Sister Annie was talking about. At the core of our existence, where everything stops, then we can do the most amazing things ever. So far, so good. Want to take a moment to absorb this together. See, at the surface, as you look around, we are so different. And our differences don't allow us to connect with each other. And because of this disconnection, we are so unhappy. So now you see each other first as a bag of flesh and bones. I know it sounds strange, but it's okay. Yeah. We have all gone through radiology classes, right?
There's nothing to be afraid of about this. There's nothing to be afraid of. It might feel like weird, but there's nothing to be afraid of. Nothing bad's going to happen. It's
right.
okay.
So back.
We're just trying to tap into something. It's
right.
Nothing bad's going to happen.
Yes. So bag of flesh and bones. And then how about molecules? It's just a bunch of molecules. Look at each other as just a bunch of molecules. Then look at each other as just a bunch of atoms, bunch of electrons, protons, neutrons, just a bunch of energy, totally connected. Maybe there is this beautiful arrangement that these wonderful team members have created. This could be the center, and all of us are connected. This is the center of the wheel, and all of us are at the rim of the wheel. We are all connected. This is the source of energy, think of it. And maybe you can even imagine that this core is connected to the energy of God. So as you connect to this, you're connected to God. So now think of it, if anyone here is unhappy, that unhappiness will be pulled into this space. And that unhappiness will affect each one of us. So whose responsibility is it to make that person happy? Everyone's, right? Thank you. So yeah, a little bit of physics. At the quantum level, what is Planck time and what is Planck distance? So as we know that time, the speed of light is 300,000 kilometers per second. So the Planck time is the time taken by light to travel the Planck distance, which is 1.6 to the power 10 to the power minus 35, that many zeros. And therefore the Planck time is 5.39 times 10 to the power minus 44. And so when these physicists were trying to measure this, at that quantum level, actually they couldn't measure it. So it is really zero. Planck time is in a way effectively zero. Planck length is actually zero. So at the core of all of existence, there is no time, there is no distance. Interesting. So what they found when they were doing all these experiments, that this energy exists in the quantum field, or the particles exist as either particle or wave, which they call as the wave-particle duality. So these particles exist in a wave of probability, if you will. And when they were trying to measure these particles, they were trying to do experiments on the particles, then the waves would collapse into a particle of existence or experience. So what that tells us is that at the quantum level, there are infinite possibilities for all of us waiting to be exploited. That we all exist actually as infinite possibilities. Something to think about. That is, there's nothing but pure potentiality. We know about this equation, E is equal to mc square. We know about the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, that one cannot measure the position of a particle and its momentum at the same time with enough accuracy. So what does this all tell us? That at the quantum level, there is no certainty. Pure uncertainty, that means infinite possibilities. There is Copenhagen interpretation, there is multiverse interpretation. Copenhagen interpretation tells us that the particles exist as waves till they are measured. Multiverse interpretation tells us that probably multiple universes exist, and the particles go from one universe to the other, and they don't exist in the universe that we are looking at right now, and they've gone into some other universe, but they come back. So all of these, when you put them all together, we realize that actually the deterministic world that we always thought that we lived in is not really the truth. The truth is that we live in a completely probabilistic world. What that means is that at the quantum level, we can determine how we want events to turn out to be. I know this might not make sense right away, but I'll explain in a moment. There's something called as quantum superposition. Have you heard that? Yeah. So what it really means is that when they were trying to again examine these particles, they found, it's very weird, that these particles would exist in different forms, different shapes, at different locations at the same time. Are you able to stay with me in this? That these particles were existing in multiple locations, in multiple forms at the same time.
How could they determine that it was the same thing they were looking
They have all the, yeah, they have all the wonderful tools. They have proven it over and over again that quantum superposition actually exists.
at? It's the
How?
same thing showing up in one place at the same time.
Exactly. So why? See, all this is tying up to the fact that at the quantum level, there is no distance, there is no time. Everything merges together. There's something called as quantum entanglement. They found that if two particles are entangled somehow, if you could take these particles apart across the universe, one in one galaxy and the other in another galaxy, we know that information cannot travel faster than the speed of light. Yet when they changed something in one, they found that there was simultaneous change in the other particle, which they couldn't understand. So what does that mean? That information can actually travel faster than the speed of light, or distance doesn't exist. And that's what Raj Yoga also teaches. Again, that's what all the ancient mystics knew about it all along. Non-local consciousness. There's something called as retroactivity, something called as retrocausality. I don't know, this is extremely deep actually to understand, to fathom what happens first. I have a funny story here. So everybody knows Hubert Simpson, right? So what is Hubert Simpson so famous about? What is the special characteristic that is shown in all of the cartoons? Yeah.
He drinks beer and eats donuts.
Yeah, in a way, he's shown very stupid, right? Right. So, but he's kind of nice guy, right? He's still trying to keep his family happy and all that. One day he has a headache. So he goes to the doctor. The doctor says, let's do a CT scan. And when the CT scan report comes, it shows a tiny brain filled in this big skull of his. Now I ask you this question. My hope is that I don't give you all the answers. I in a way, want this to be a little provocative session, that it inspires you to think more. Now think about it. Is he stupid because he has a small brain? Or is his stupidity causing the brain to be small? Is the small brain because of his stupidity, or his stupidity because of the small brain? More thoughts, just sharing these. Let's say I have a thought that as I go out, I'm going to trip and fall. And I do trip and fall and break my leg, let's say. Now, did I have the thought because I am going to fall? Or I fell because I had the thought? Right? Just something to think about. There's tesseracts, wormholes. Some of you have watched that movie, you can't remember. There's this movie where he goes through time. He's able to see his daughter young and old. Which Inception?
Interstellar.
Interstellar, thank you. So time travel. But if there is no time, there is no need to travel. If there is no distance, there's no need to go anywhere. You have already arrived. So at the quantum level, you're already there. There's nowhere to go. And that's exactly what I loved about when I started practicing Raj Yoga. I realized it's super scientific. There's nothing esoteric about it. Because Raj Yoga talks about that you have to just feel that you've arrived, and you've arrived. If you feel you haven't arrived, you haven't arrived. As simple as that. All right. So another very interesting thing that these quantum physicists found, that when they were trying to do these experiments, which I was talking about earlier, the phenomenon of particle-wave duality, they were first trying to experiment with light. They thought light works as waves, but then it also works as particle. We know from Albert Einstein's experiments with photoelectric effect that it actually works as particles. And so in a way, light works both as particles and wave. And in fact, every electron, every proton, every neutron, which we would think it to be a particle, also exists as a wave and a particle. So what they found was what we call as the observer effect. What does that mean? That when they were observing how the particle would behave, then it started behaving like a particle. When they stopped looking at it, it started behaving like a wave. So what does that mean? That when we are looking at something, we are hoping to see something, and so something shows up. And if you don't want to look at it, if you don't look at it, then in a way, that's the message that not just the particle, but the universe gets, that it's okay, and it will show up as something else. So what does this tell us? That everything in the universe actually follows what we perceive it to be. The observer effect. We are all observers. You see, when we talk about this consciousness at the quantum level, I was talking about consciousness. Again, what do you think? Is consciousness an emergent phenomenon of the brain? Yeah, some of these scientists are thinking that probably our consciousness lives in the microtubules, or it is the other way around, that matter is an emergent phenomenon of consciousness. Now we are understanding actually through quantum physics that it is truly the other way around. It's the consciousness that's primary. René Descartes, the famous French philosopher, said, cogito ergo sum. Cogito would mean I think, cognition. Ergo, therefore, sum, I am. I think, therefore I am. It's more than just I think. What he really wanted to say is that we are conscious of everything that's happening, and that's why we exist. So you see, there is a subject and there's an object. When we are just simply conscious, let's say we have been given general anesthesia, yeah, you come to me and I give you general anesthesia, you wake up after that. So you are observing things. So it's the observer seeing the object, the subject seeing the object. But actually, what he was talking about, and what Raj Yoga teaches, and what all the ancient mystics knew about, that true consciousness, the higher consciousness, is subject seeing the subject. We're seeing ourselves, which they call as metacognition. Thinking before thinking, thinking that I'm thinking, knowing that I'm thinking, knowing that I exist. That is pure consciousness that we truly are. They were doing experiments on some yogis, and they put them into the SPECT machine. This is a SPECT image. And these images were before and after meditation. By the way, for those of you, I'm sure most of you know about SPECT. But when the activity in the brain increases, or that part of the body increases, that part looks more lighted up on the image. So if you look here, there's the parietal lobe, and these are the frontal lobes of prefrontal cortex. So after meditation, these areas, the parietal lobes, their intensity went down. Whereas for the prefrontal cortex, the activity increased. So prefrontal cortex is higher functioning, language, ability to connect with others, and so on and so forth. And temporal lobes, parietal lobes, give us spatio-temporal orientation, time and space. So what happens is when we meditate, we go into the quantum field. And in the quantum field, there's no space, there's no time. So we rise beyond space and time. We dilate time to the extent that we can achieve everything that we need to achieve, do whatever we need to do, achieve the unachievable, and be able to remain focused, just like these. So yeah, reality versus perception. Do you know that each second, each one of us is being bombarded by billions of bits of information? The human mind can assimilate maybe a few thousand bits at a time. So we all could be looking at this, and each one is seeing something different. We all could be listening to the same thing, but we are all hearing something different. So each one's perception is different. So each one's reality is different. But which is the reality? What is reality? Is there a difference between perception and reality? So there was this experiment that was done of some tribe in Africa. In their tribe, they have numerous names for different shades of green. But for some reason, they don't have any name for the color blue. Because truly speaking, in nature, there is a lot of green. They belong to probably some forest area where there are numerous shades of green. But we think that there is a lot of blue. Actually, there isn't. By the way, is the sky blue? It looks blue, but it's not blue. Is the water blue? No. You take water in your hand, it's never blue. So blue is not really a very common color in nature, so they don't really have a name to that. And so when they were showing these colors, color palettes to these tribal children, the children were able to say with accuracy if there was even the slightest shade off for green colors, which you and I will not be able to tell. But on the other hand, there was this blue color in front of them that they couldn't even see. What the mind doesn't know, the eyes don't see, the ears don't hear. So truly speaking, what we are now beginning to understand at all levels, from science point of view, from philosophy point of view, from meditation point of view, that our perception truly becomes a reality. So do you at any point perceive your hospital administration to be after you? Do you think at any point that your boss doesn't like you? Do you feel that the whole setup is a setup for disaster? Yes? Then that becomes your reality. Your boss will turn out like that even if he doesn't want to. Your hospital administration will become that, whether you like it or not, because you have perceived them to be that. That setup will become a disaster. Now, if you want a new reality, what do you have to do? All you have to go is to go back into the quantum field of infinite possibilities. But there's no certainty. You create your own reality in there. So what do you want to be? What do you want your life to turn out to be? Happy? Connected with everyone? So create that reality there. And that's the reality that will bubble up into your external world. Your reality is shaped by your perception. That's what we do every day. We wake up early in the morning and we meditate. And we go into that quantum field. We don't call it quantum field in Raj Yoga, but that's what it is. We call it as the soul conscious state, the true essence of our existence, into what we call as the soul world, the original home for all of us, that where we existed in, again, the purest state ever. So we go into that. And that's where we are able to connect to the mind of God. This is the theory of everything. TOE. This is how we are able to connect to the mind of God, connect to the energy of the universe, the intelligence of the universe, and able to keep ourselves happy and sane so that we can then give to everyone around us. We have giants like Sister Kala, Sister Rona here, who can tell you more about what they do. Unachievable things, unimaginable things, they make it so easy. Every weekend there are retreats happening. They wear so many hats, they do such amazing things. Sister Rona creates all these wonderful meditation programs, and you can be part of that. You can tap into the Manhattan Center's Facebook page or YouTube or whatever it is she can share with you. Just amazing. I was just watching a few of those, and I was just thinking, how can a person do all this? And when I was looking at Sister Kala, how she handles everything, hundreds of people coming in every weekend, day in and day out, new things happening, all the food that has to be arranged. Think about it, we are 50, 60 people, but different meals every time, something different. Nothing has been repeated so far. And I assure you, nothing will be repeated till tomorrow morning. It's going to be something different. Arranging all that, making sure that the food is awesome, Michelin star food, right? How is it possible? Because they tap into that quantum field. And so you too can, we too can tap into that quantum field, become what we want to become. I'm getting close to the end of my presentation. This is what then leads to a state of hyperconnectedness, where we're connected to the self, connected to God, connected to the universe. And then there is this deep sense of compassion that evolves for everything, for everyone, for everywhere and everyone. Doesn't matter. Think about it for a moment. There are no boundaries in this space. There are no limitations. There's no day and night in that space. There's nothing that stops us if we are in that space. So if we learn the art of functioning from that space, nothing can stop us. Just think about it. You will be connected to everyone and give to everyone. I just want to ask a question here, stop for a moment talking about all this physics. And those who are with me at the table, please don't answer, but just a quick question. Let's say you have the last tortilla and you're super hungry, famished. You haven't had anything to eat for a day or 2 days. And there's another hungry person comes by. Would you give that last tortilla to that person? Share. Buddha said, when you give that last tortilla, last roti, last chapati, last bread, piece of bread that you have, that's when the universe opens itself for you. You'll be flooded by tortillas or rotis or whatever else it is. But do we have the courage to do that? So when you are in that quantum field, you have access to the infinite energy of the universe, the infinite energy of God working around you. Now, there's no problem in giving to others. And as you give to others, you feel connected. And through that connection, all your healing happens. You can be whatever you wish to be. You can reach the heights that you want to. You can be happy. You can be prosperous. You can achieve anything. True fulfillment, the true meaning of life becomes yours. I think that's the last slide. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yes, a few things. So everybody knows the concept of infinity. If you subtract 1 from infinity, how much is left? Thank you. If you subtract 100 from infinity, thank you. If you subtract 1,000 from infinity, thank you. If you subtract 8.5 billion, how many people are on this planet? Something like that, 8.6, something like that. How much is that? Still infinity. So if you are in that infinite space, whatever you give to others, how much ever you do for anyone, what are you left with? Infinity. That's what we learn every day in the advanced classes that we have. We have a daily spiritual passage that we read, that we try to work upon for the day, and teaches us give, give, and give. Thank you. Giving is the biggest source of all happiness. And we can give only when we are connected to ourselves, to God, and to the universe. And we can be connected to all of these only when we are at that quantum level. Om Shanti. Oh. I didn't expect that. Thank you. But I know for sure that many of you also wanted to share. So I would love to hear from all of you. I would love to learn. So now there is a mic that we can pass along. And I know some of the team members also wanted to share. And so please feel free to share. And please, if you could guide me, 6 o'clock is when we need to end, right, Sister Marilyn? Right. So a few minutes before 6, we will do some meditation to experience all of this together. So we have about 7-8 minutes, and I would love to hear from you.
No, just, in the Vedas, the zero, is invented, or how does this factor in? Does it relate to?
It's a whole topic in itself, dear brother. But when you go into that quantum field, in a way you become zero, but you also become infinity. You become nothing, and therefore you become everything. Some of you know about what are stem cells, right? Everybody knows, probably. So stem cells are those type of cells that get stored in our bone marrow. They are nothing. But because they are nothing, they can be anything. If they get the message that there is some injury to the brain, then those cells will go there and become brain cells. If there's an injury to the eye, to the retina, they'll go there and become retina cells. So if we are nothing, then we can be anything, we can be anyone. And that's how we can stay connected to everyone and everything. From shunya, from zero, going to infinity. Yeah.
could talk about this like for 3 hours with you, brother. I really could.
That's awesome.
The Taoist philosophy talks about the Wu Qi, everything, nothing. Similar, okay. But I guess every one of us is unique, and one of the things that I feel strongly about is this moment of breaking free into the quantum field.
Correct.
So we're kind of stuck in the external differences, and I'm going to add emotions, like it all is part of that. In Buddhism, life is suffering, like that external field of differences is where we experience all of that. I'm very interested in that moment of breaking free of that, because we can talk about this, and the experience of it is something that is completely reality changing for the one who experiences it. So just quickly, I'll just share, I was in a leadership program once, and they told us to write the story of our life. And so you write the story of my life, and I'm like, this happened, and my some family member did this to me, and everything, and I'm writing all the emotional, everything. And they set us up with a person, and the exercise was, read the story of your life over and over and over and over and over to the person listening until you get it. They didn't tell us what getting it was. But what I get from this, and we practice already, so I'm already kind of have experience in that, if you're calling it now the quantum field. Listening to this to me is very thrilling, because having the explanation of it when you've experienced it is so gratifying. But the initial experience of breaking free from the trap of the, let's say in this case, the story or the external experience, I want to say, if none of you have experienced that, Raj Yoga can help you experience that. Once it's experienced, it is something to be built on, and you talked about creating and everything else, but it is the beginning of the end of suffering, the beginning of the end of pain, the beginning of the end of confusion, the beginning of the end of all the negative things that we experience. So I love it, and thank you so much. Great explanation. Thank you.
And we have such profound yogis like these two souls here, and they can tell you how to get into that zone, into that quantum field on a regular basis. In fact, I would be remiss again if I say that they don't exist there all the time. Yes, they that's it. So you can learn, you can see from them, right? Yeah. Not just remains, I feel they are there. That's why they're able to look at their faces, these two yogis' faces. So they'll teach you everything that you need to know. Yes.
Om Shanti. So my English is not so. I try to explain what I'm thinking about what you was saying. So you talk about science, physical, but I think it's always spirituality.
True.
Science, I can other name it like a science of spirituality.
Beautiful. I concur with you.
I think is like if I take the wheel, you talk about the wheel. So the wheel in the surface is just like, I think it's just like the body.
Exactly.
And the point, the center is just like the soul.
Thank you.
So I understand that when you're talking about the science, the goal, our main goal is like to work in the center. Beautiful. And when we work in the center, then the surface, merge in the center.
Beautiful.
And when the surface go to merge with the center, it's like there is no time, there is no wind, there is nothing. The duality is over. In the Sufa, the duality is the duality. Like you say, love, hate, and
no duality.
down, up. There's no duality when you take your body in the center.
Beautiful.
And,
I agree.
And when you work, when you get this main goal, and that's the pure light. Your body comes the pure light. There's nothing that's like a pure light. Then when you become a pure light, you don't have to give. That's become by itself.
Thank you. My gosh. One gold star for her, one gold star for him. Thank you, dear brother.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's the
awesome.
pure light. You don't have to say, I'm going to give, I'm going to share, I'm going to this, I'm going to that. That's become by itself because you are pure light. Light flow all the qualities.
Thank you. I agree.
The
Thank you
love,
very
the
much.
love. So I always think like when you talk about science things, I think all things resume like a spirituality.
I totally concur with you, dear brother.
So
That's awesome. Thank you.
So I like your presentation.
And I love your sharing.
That's blow something in my. So I think knowledge, not from outside, it's
Knowledge from within. It's very liberating.
like when you say something, that's blow something in my mind.
Beautiful.
And it's just like I already know what you're saying.
And what you're saying is blowing things up in my mind in
All
beautiful
right.
ways.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And I
All
just
right,
want to
thank
say seriously that
Thank
when
you.
we say
All right,
time,
thank you.
yeah, I don't have time to connect to people. I don't have time to give. But see, there's no time. So you have all the time. No time means all time. Yes. You can give. Exactly. The mic, she's saying that you can connect with people just thinking about them. That's exactly what it is. You go into the quantum field, you're totally connected. Everybody's pain then feels as your pain.
Thank you for your presentation. I really enjoy it, and it makes so much sense when you were talking about the fact that we are so much into a deeper level that we probably don't realize. And one thing that really was really interesting to me was when you were talking about how we are in so much different level. And something I was wondering was, is it because that we are vibrating at a different frequency that we can reach that level of zero, of nothing to be everything? So I wanted to have a little bit of clarity about that. Is there anything, is it the thought that, is it the power of the thought that makes those vibrations and those frequency to reach that deeper level so we can function, we can resource ourselves? So that's what I was wondering.
You're answering your own question. That's exactly what it is. Thank you very much. Another gold star for this sister too. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what it is. There's another very famous equation in physics, apart from E is equal to mc squared, that is E is equal to hv, that is, or h nu or hf, that is energy is equal to or proportionate to the frequency. So at whatever frequency that we vibrate at, that's the energy we create. So when we go into the quantum field, we are at the maximum frequency, therefore we create the maximum energy for ourselves that we can use for anything that we want, for the best for ourselves, best for all of mankind. I think, yeah.
Gratitude can take you to that level.
Thank you. I agree with you. And yeah, I agree. She said that gratitude can take you to the level. Gratitude, what does it tell us? That you've already experienced, you've already achieved, you've already received what you wanted to receive. It's a state of abundance. And when you are in that state, you're already full, you're already complete, you're already at the perfect state. So you can give, and give.
So that can let you create more,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. And we say that I don't have enough. When
That you're negating it.
Yeah, you're negating it, right? So emptiness begets emptiness. Poverty begets poverty. Disease begets disease. So When you say you don't have enough, then you create that reality for yourself, you attract all of that. When you say that you have enough, you're full. And how do you remain full? I know, because if we continue to exist at this level, there is always limitation. We'll always say we don't have enough. And we can't give enough. There's only 24 hours in a day. There's only so much we all can do. When you go into the quantum level, from soul conscious state, what we practice in Raj Yoga, then you have access to infinite energy. You can give, 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 and give. So that state automatically lends itself to gratitude. Thank you. I know, but we have to end, but whatever the organizers, I'll let Sister Marilyn decide if someone else would like to. One more.
I want to talk about observer fact. That observer fact we heard in life when we talk people like, oh, he's a gifted observer. That I'm understanding of that observer fact is when we focusing or paying attention, observing something, is becoming mindfulness and focus on that one little, right, and is becoming so important to receiving that energy or understanding of it. When we turn around, is becoming wavy, that, oh, you were not paying attention. Is part of the quantum physics. And even we pay attention or observe somebody, that is already that message is going and that person looking at back to us.
Exactly.
And it happens so many times, like you just looking at somebody, that is person not looking at you, but the action is happening in the quantum physics. Yeah. That person looking at back at you and like, I didn't ask that person to look back at me.
Thank you.
Exactly. I just want to share that what I felt. So.
You focus on negative. Yeah.
Negative comes back. Okay.
Thank you. So shall we end? Shall we go into a few minutes of meditation? Shall we try to go into that quantum field together? And dearest brother, this time I would love to have some music. Thank you so much, Ranul Bhai. Thank you. Just a couple of minutes. Try to not see yourself as the image that you see in the mirror every day. Or nowadays we have these selfies, right? So we see ourselves through the lens of the cameras of our cell phones. So we know how we look like at the external level. For a little bit, forget that and try to go to a deeper level, at the level of tissues and arteries and veins and bones and blood vessels. Then try to go even further, the level of molecules, carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen molecule, N2O, NO2, whatnot. Go even further into the atomic level and see there's more and more space now within yourself. Everything is beginning to expand. Time is beginning to slow down for you. And now you've entered into the subatomic state. Electrons, protons, neutrons. And now, in a split of a second, all of it has disappeared. And all that is left is just pure energy, pure potentiality, a wave of infinite possibilities. In this state, you're totally connected with yourself, with God, the highest energy. In Raj Yoga, we call him as the ocean of all positivity. And you're also connected to the infinite intelligence of the universe. All of it now beginning to flow into you. It's so interesting that quantum physics people say that when all of matter is removed, then whatever that quantum field that will be left with has a hue that is reddish, orange reddish. That's what the quantum physics people are talking about. And it took me some time to understand why in Raj Yoga meditation in Brahma Kumaris, when we meditate, we change the light to this beautiful golden red, orange red hue. See, this light around you is helping you enter into that quantum field, helping you stay there in that quantum field, filling you with infinite energy that you can use to heal yourself. And that energy you can use to serve the rest of mankind. In this moment, you connected to everyone, the whole planet, the whole universe. Everybody's pain and everybody's joy is your joy and your pain. And through your positive energy, now you can serve everyone with no boundaries whatsoever.